Real. And feel free to let me know if like the volume's like too high or low.
Homeowners. If you have a power meter like this on the side of your house, you can
Or
get paid
doesn't
to go
exist.
solar at no cost to you. The solar panel installation is free, and your meter will actually start to run backwards from the solar power, and you'll...
Do Republicans win elections by preventing minorities, blacks, Latinos, and others, from voting? For those on the left and their allies in the major media, the answer is yes. Even more than that, it's an article of faith. The usual example they offer is state laws, often passed by Republican majority legislatures, requiring voters to present a photo ID at their polling place, something required in almost every other democracy in the world. According to the left, voter ID depresses minority turnout and is therefore a blatant form of racial discrimination. But there's a problem with this accusation. There's no evidence to support it. Minorities are voting in greater numbers and at higher percentages than ever before. The facts and figures are there for anyone to see. Still, progressives and most of the political press don't seem to have noticed. Or maybe they just don't want to look. At a 2019 NAACP dinner in Detroit, California Senator Kamala Harris told the audience that voter suppression in Georgia and Florida cost Democrats gubernatorial races in the 2018 midterm elections. "Let's say this loud and clear," said Ms. Harris. "Without voter suppression, Stacey Abrams would be the governor of Georgia. Andrew Gillum is the governor of Florida." A few days earlier, Ms. Abrams herself, apparently still bitter over her defeat, made a similar claim. "We had an architect of voter suppression that spent the last 8 years knitting together a system of voter suppression that is unparalleled in America," said Ms. Abrams, in reference to her Republican opponent, a former Georgia Secretary of State. But if minorities are harmed by mandating voter ID and other anti-fraud measures, such as removing inactive voters from registration rolls, why does the evidence all point to the opposite conclusion? A recent Census Bureau report found that voter turnout in 2018 climbed 11 percentage points from the last midterm election in 2014, surpassing 50% for the first time since 1982. Moreover, the increased turnout was largely driven by the same minority voters Democrats claim are being disenfranchised. Black turnout grew around 27%, and Hispanic turnout increased about 50%. None of this comes as news to anyone who pays attention to sober facts instead of inflammatory rhetoric. The black voter turnout rate, for the most part, has grown steadily since the 1990s. This has occurred notwithstanding an increase in state voter ID requirements over the same period. In 2012, blacks voted at higher rates than whites nationwide, including in Georgia, which was one of the first states in the country to implement a photo ID requirement for voting. Ms. Abrams claims that Republicans have been hard at work trying to disenfranchise black voters. But the reality is that black voter registration is outpacing white registration in the Peach State. These gains are not limited to blacks. Voting has been up substantially in all minority groups. An analysis of the census data published by Pew Research Center found that all major racial and ethnic groups saw historic jumps in voter turnout in 2018. Political scientist Tae-Koo Lee confirmed this in an op-ed for the New York Times, in which she highlights impressive voting rates for minority women. The 2018 election set new benchmarks for turnout in a midterm election, with a whopping 30 million more people voting than in 2014. For women of color, the increased turnout was even more stark, at 37%. As to the issue of ensuring the accuracy and integrity of U.S. elections, minority voters appear to be as concerned as everyone else. Ms. Harris and Ms. Abrams may feel that requiring an ID for banking, flying, or buying cold medicine should not apply to voting, but most people don't seem to have that problem. In a 2016 Gallup poll, voter ID laws were supported by 4 in 5 respondents, including 95% of Republicans, 63% of Democrats, 81% of whites, and 77% of non-whites. So, if there is no serious opposition to voter ID laws and no evidence of voter suppression, if, in fact, more people of different races and ethnicities are voting at higher rates than ever before, why won't this voter suppression myth die? The answer is at once surprising and obvious. One party simply can't accept that they will lose a close election. If a Republican wins one of those, there has to be a nefarious reason. Voter suppression is as good as any, even if it has no basis in fact. Ms. Abrams lost, by the way, by over 50,000 votes. Elections are decided by the state of the economy, foreign policy issues, candidate personalities, and a host of other factors. The non-existent problem of voter suppression is not one of them. I'm Jason Riley, Senior Fellow at the Manhattan Institute for Prager University. Thank you for watching this video.
Yeah. Okay, I'm unmuted now. Great. Okay. Let me stop screen sharing. So let's talk about this video. What you guys think?
It was definitely cringeworthy. Can I just say that?
Yeah. It's just like they're not like, I feel like they're not using the right reasons, like what people are actually trying to focus on when they're talking about voter suppression. Like, I feel like they didn't even bring up like gerrymandering, which is like a big part of how they suppress voters by like splitting them up into different districts so they can't have like a majority.
My biggest thing when I was watching this video was a lot of the rhetoric. It sounded exactly like a lot of, I just kept thinking of this past elections where they couldn't accept the results, and a lot of it was like, oh, they just can't accept this and blah 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 blah. I'm like, that's exactly what y'all were saying for this last
It's just
election. Like it all sounded
hypocritical.
Well, so like they're talking about like voter turnout, but like, I mean, yeah, while maybe voter turnout has gone up, like they ignore the fact that still like ID laws do disproportionately impact the communities that are less likely to have driver's licenses, which are historically economically depressed, which are historically Black communities.
Yeah, that's true.
I just feel like voter turnout has probably gone higher because, you know, maybe an increase in people who are the voting age, and also like increased interest in politics because of the 2016 election. People are like, oh, I don't want to have to deal with this guy anymore. I'm gonna vote. Or like people, I guess, on the other side thinking like, oh, the liberals or whatever are being so dramatic. I gotta like help. Yeah.
Right.
Perhaps something that's like almost ignored altogether on either side of the voter suppression issue would also be just like ballot access requirements that disproportionately hurt Black and brown candidates and poorer candidates and newer candidates and young candidates. Like in New Jersey in particular, I'm just thinking like the way our ballot access pretty much puts like all the candidates that the county doesn't endorse at the end of the ballot.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. And also like third party candidates in the general election face like the same issues where they throw them at the very end of the ballot so that way they can't possibly run against the political duopoly.
And in general, we should have rank voting.
Ranked choice voting would be great.
Yes. Someone coming in. Okay. Hi, we just finished watching a video. We're still talking about it. We're gonna start the next one soon.
Can we
Anybody
do
else?
introductions? I don't know anybody on here.
Okay, my name is Ireneson. I'm one of the founders of Yak. Started in like, I think June or something. I go to Stockton University. I'm a sophomore biology major. I'm also on the student senate there, governmental affairs committee. We're having an event too this Saturday that you should totally come to. It's a rally called Continuing the Movement for Black History Month. You're gonna have some cool
Yeah.
speakers there. Okay, Em, do you want to go next?
Yeah, so I'm Nina. I am also I am with Irene with Yak. I'm not the founder, but I am definitely like in there. So um
Well, you're
um
one of the 4 people who started it.
yes, I don't
Yeah,
want to take
you
the
are.
credit. I know it's you. Like you do all the organized. She's the boss. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
say it right now. She's the boss. So
She
uh,
is.
yeah, I do like the art. I usually most of the time I did, but I usually do the art for our posters, and I go to ACCC. I am on my 4th semester. Uh, this year's pretty rough so far, but listen, I'm trying to educate myself more with this politics stuff. I haven't gotten into politics since like I want to say 2018. Like once I hit like my junior semester, I'm like, yeah, I'm done with this shit. So this right now is like I'm kind of re-educating myself with you guys. So just bear with me if I don't even know what the heck we're talking about here.
I feel like I'm on the same page with you. Like
Exactly. Like when you
with the
said all
whole
that,
like
yeah, when
2016, I was like, okay, maybe I should start paying attention to this because it's ridiculous.
yeah, like I was ready to fall asleep. I'm like like what are you talking about? But anyways,
Uh,
I'll go next.
okay.
I go by M. You probably saw my name earlier, but I tend to stay anonymous. But I'm also one of the original founders. I don't go to college because I'm poor, but yeah, currently I just got done treatment for some severe mental health stuff, so I'm kind of just starting my life. So I'm just trying to try and find work and eventually make enough money to go to college. But yeah, I'm in charge of the mental health aspect of Yak, which I really want to get that started soon because I'm really passionate about that. And I am definitely the newest person when it comes to politics. I know nothing, but I'm a very empathetic person. I really care about people and I've seen a lot of suffering. So that's my biggest thing is like I just want to help people. So I'm very new to all the politics, but I know things aren't right. So I want to keep get involved and help. So yeah.
You want to go next, Matt?
Sure, I can introduce myself. So my name is Matthew Scolar. My pronouns are he, him, his. I actually don't live in Atlantic County. I live in Kearney, that's in Hudson County. But I wanted to join for this event tonight because I don't know, it seemed pretty interesting, and I thought this would be kind of fun to tag along. I chair the Young Eco Socialists. We're the youth wing of the Green Party in New Jersey. So awesome.
that's awesome.
And Ellie? Is she there?
I knew I was going to be last because even in potato toss until I'm the last person and I
It's
have
because
to
you
go.
joined last.
What?
It's because you joined last.
Oh no, even so people just went forward. I was like, nah, I don't want to. I'm just going to wait till I get called out. Um, I'm Allie, she, her, hers to Matt because I know the rest of these girls. Um, I'm studying theater design. That's my major. I go to school in Philly, so I'm far away from the rest of the girls. Um, I'm a part of YAAC. I'm gonna call it that because it sounds cooler. Um, I'm a founder. It's been a lot going on my end. Just because I really, really want to take an internship next year, so I'm trying to get as many credits out of the way as possible, so I can like free up like a whole day during the week just to work on an internship. Um, Other than that, I've been involved in politics and I guess, the mental health aspect for a long time. And basically anytime I can make fun of conservatives, I take that chance. So I had to come to this party because making fun of PragerU is everything to me. They're so awful. But yeah, that's a little about me. I just went along with the same formula that everyone else did.
Okay, thanks for coming, Allie.
Also, Ellie, your mic's a
Also,
little
Irene, I like your
messed up.
cereal.
Thanks.
And
It's
no,
my roommate's
it's my internet.
Oh, is it? Okay.
It's my internet because, like, in the middle of while I was speaking, my thing just said internet's unstable, and I'm like, great. So
Okay, time to make it a little
yeah,
bit
the
more
internet where
unstable.
I am in the house is like the worst. Huh?
I'm gonna make it more unstable when I share this video.
Yeah, Allie, you kind of sound like one of those like hacker cover up, like when they like have to like cover someone's voice up so they're not
Like
so you can't like
anonymous.
track them down or something.
Yeah.
That's what you kind of sound like. It's kind of funny, but we love you.
Fun. Okay, I'm gonna share the screen again for the second video.
Hang on.
Oh my goodness gracious.
I wonder. Hold on.
If I can find the website that has the video. Okay, there it is. Okay. Opening the chat so I can message in it. And playing second one.
Most people think the key to losing weight only has to deal with two factors, diet and exercise. But if you're like...
Okay, so this one's gender identity. Why all the confusion?
Oh my god.
It's now okay for a man to hit a woman. That, in effect, is what a mixed martial arts league decided when it allowed Fallon Fox, a biological male, to fight as a woman simply because he identifies as one. And the consequence of this decision? Fox sent female fighter Tamika Brents to the hospital with a broken skull and a concussion. Brents needed 7 surgical staples to bind her wounds. The battered woman, a trained fighter herself, said of her match with Fox, "I've never felt so overpowered in my life." 20 years ago, if a man hit a woman so hard that he sent her to the hospital, he'd be in prison. Now, he can get paid for it. Today we are told that male and female are one and the same. This denial of male-female differences has led to the astonishing belief that men and women are not born male or female. They are whatever gender they say they are. Facebook went so far as to offer its users over 50 genders to choose from. Know what a demi-boy is? Me neither. The idea that gender identification is now a personal choice might sound enlightened to some, but it's actually a very anti-scientific view of one of the essential facts of life. Men and women are inherently different. Their brains are different, their hormones are different, their chromosomes are different, and of course, their bodies are different. No amount of peer-reviewed papers from gender studies departments can change this. But that won't stop the progressive elites who run our universities, news media, many of our biggest companies, and even our high schools and elementary schools from trying. For their efforts, women will pay an especially high price. That's because the men and women are the same argument invariably leads women to be judged against a male standard. Or to put it another way, to be more of a woman has to be more like a man. She has to want to have casual sex like a man, to serve in combat like a man, to pursue a career with single-minded intensity like a man. Of course, there are exceptions, but the overwhelming majority of women aren't seeking casual sex, don't have the physical strength of men, and don't share the same work-life priorities as men. Ironically, this quest for sameness is occurring at a time when science is telling us more emphatically than ever that we are different. So what your grandmother took for granted, men and women are different, science now confirms. But there is no room for science in, say, stores like Target or Toys R Us, where toys are no longer divided into the boys section and the girls section, or in a North Carolina school district where students can no longer be called boys and girls, but only students, or in college dorms where co-ed bathrooms and even co-ed bedrooms are increasingly common. For the tiny percentage of people who experience gender dysphoria, we should have nothing but compassion. We should do everything we can to help them and protect their dignity. But we don't need to overturn biologically defined sex differences to do so. But that's what's happening. Using the wrong pronoun at the office might get you fired. In Canada, it might land you in court. In mixed martial arts, as we have seen, it can lead to getting your head bashed in. Apparently, this is a small price to pay in a world where we must all genuflect to political correctness. Even after being hospitalized, Tamika Brents knew she had to toe the PC line. When asked how she explained why she lost so badly to a man who said he was a woman, she said, "I can't answer whether it's because she was born a man or not, because I'm not a doctor." Vice magazine, writing about the incident, had no sympathy for Brents. Why should they? As they wrote, biological sex isn't black and white. But in virtually every instance, it is. The longer we allow the obvious to go unstated and undefended, the worse it will be, for boys and girls, and for men and women, but especially for women. The sexes are different. Rather than trying to quash this reality, which can only lead to more needless confusion and suffering, not less, we should step back and marvel at it, and enjoy it. Male-female differences are among the most wonderful things in life. I'm Ashley McGuire for Prager University. Thank you for watching.
I just want to start off by saying that sex and gender are two completely different things. And she, at the end, was just like, yeah, sex for every single point. It's like, yes, sex is like two, but gender is a spectrum.
Oh my god, that was all I was. I have so many things. So many things to say.
Can I start with something, because I have actually argued this point so many times.
You go, Allie.
What I don't understand about trans folks, right, is they want to believe so badly that trans people don't understand what biology is. It's like they do. That's why they call themselves trans people, right?
Also,
The other thing is,
trans scientist.
that's the thing. They act like trans people are completely ignorant of biology. They're not. All right? That's why they're trying to make people more aware of what being trans means and what it is. The other thing is, for sports, I know that actually is a tricky debate, because testosterone does give you a physical edge in athleticism. But there's trans women like Janae Marie Kroc. I don't know if you guys heard of her. But basically she kind of got in this squabble with this trans YouTuber named Blair White, who's awful. And she's basically like, yeah, I'm not going to compete against women because I grew up into a full man before I transitioned, and I cannot compete with women or else I'll have an edge. Yeah, fuck Blair White. Oh my god, I hate her. I'm sorry, I just saw Nita's comment. She's like horrible. I do think there needs to be a little difference there, but it is a really hard topic to tackle, because, for example, in the Olympics, there was a biological woman who was a sprinter, and she was like killing every single run. But they had to kick her out because her testosterone was way higher than average. And so they kind of classified her as a male, even though she's a biological woman, just because her testosterone was so high. Wow. I don't know if you heard of that. But yeah,
wow.
It's hard because, like, there should be, I guess, like an average of, I guess, testosterone levels. But at the same time, it's like, there are some women who just have abnormally high testosterone, you know? So the other thing is, the problems they were talking about were oh my god, the victimization complex, and this is what riles up. This is what riles up conservatives all the time. Conservatives are always like, the liberals are literally trying to kill you and then put you in slavery because you believe a certain thing. They always do that. It's like, no, like, liberals are just trying to. It's not even liberals. It's just people. They're trying to get you to understand something. That's not going to get your skull bashed. Like they just said, oh, being inclusive of trans women is going to get your skull bashed in. You see how they manipulate information like that?
Yeah.
And
right,
then
and you see how like Becky Hare in her very calm manner just elevates her education even more in the what she's saying. It's really
Yes.
funny how they really sell this shit.
Right, conservatives are just like that's their main tactic is fear mongering, and because people are hearing what they want to hear, they have no concept of nuance, right? And they don't understand that all of this crap that this woman is saying is all cherry picked, and none she never, other than the incident that happened, she really never brought anything factual into it. And it's interesting to me how she was saying that basically personality traits belong to certain genders. Like, oh, women don't have determination to work in the office. I'm like, what the fuck? What does that have to do with gender? Women are taking the workplace by storm nowadays, right? And then the other thing is like toys and stuff. Oh, boys and girls are called students. I'm like, that's because that's what they are. They are students. I don't see.
What about the toys
Bruh.
being separate? It's just like, who cares?
The toys. I'm like, if fucking kid wants to play with a Barbie, let him play
Is
with
this
a
the
Barbie.
issue that we're having in America? We need to
Right?
separate
It's
our
such a
toys.
small. See, this is what happens when you let white, cisgender, heterosexual people make these videos. They always like point out the smallest problems.
You know, like the thing you were talking about with like fear mongering and like focusing on like one thing is
Fuck
kind of
you.
like with voters, like when they're talking about mail-in ballots, how like they're saying, yeah, mail-in ballots are bad because all the illegal immigrants are gonna vote. Like, is this
Like
small-
It's asinine.
how?
what?
It's asinine.
How are they even gonna get like ballots? First of all, because you need to register.
The other thing they're saying, literally exercising your right to vote for Biden is taking away your country. Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck is that shit? They're just you're just doing your duty as an American to vote.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I just can't
Also,
stand them.
like, let's talk about like how, you know, they were like also like they were going after co-ed bathrooms, and it's like gender neutral restrooms exist all around this country already. It's called, you know, the single use restroom.
Dude,
that
The one in
you
my
know,
house.
Imagine,
Right.
right? Imagine cis people when they find out that their
Exactly.
bathroom is gender neutral.
No, exactly. And I mean, even like I've been in like multi-stalled restrooms that are gender neutral also. Like it's quite common in Europe actually. Like I participated in an exchange program in high school with the school in Barcelona, and like all their schools were, I mean all their bathrooms in the school were co-ed. Like it's quite normal in other countries.
It also
Yeah.
sounds like it'd be much easier to just have a bathroom for everyone.
Right, and it just kills the stigma between, you know, male and female and, you know, and everyone else in between. Like, and, you know, we also have to think about the stigma on trans people already, especially on trans women. Trans women are looked at as predators, and, you know,
Ooh,
we
that
have
annoys
these
me.
crazy horror movies about women, or like I'll never forget. My family, we watched this movie like a few times when I was a kid, where I forget if she was actually just a man, but I think she was a transgender woman and she was killing women, and she was like skinning them and
Silence
wearing
of the
their
Lambs.
yes, exactly.
Oh.
So
I was
she's
about to talk
wearing their
about that. Yeah,
skin, and it's like, you know, and now
it's a great
people are-
movie. Besides that part,
yeah,
I think
exactly.
it's a really good film, and if you guys like horror, you should watch it. That's where
Yeah,
all the
that shit
cannibal comes
scared
from.
me. But you know, you could see, okay, people will use that kind of, you know, as propaganda, and use that, say, oh, well, look what the movies they're putting out for trans people. You know, what if trans people are crazy like this? It's like, you know, you could say that about anything. You know,
That's not the only movie that started to. There's been like around that time there was a whole trope of like, I guess, using trans women as like killers because they're just, predators that want to hurt and use women.
exactly.
There's a YouTuber named ContraPoints that did a great video on it, using because the J.K. Rowling thing. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Oh yeah.
I think I've seen that one.
Yeah,
I'll talk for a minute.
she is actually transphobic because like after all her transphobic tweets and she published that book, apparently it's about a man who dresses up as a woman to go kill women.
Ew.
That's what the book is about, and everybody's like, oh my god. Yeah, I don't know. J.K.
Yeah.
Rowling's in a new wave.
Yeah,
Hey, can I go next?
Yeah.
I've been waiting so long. Well, first,
Sorry.
let me just finish on this. Did not realize that a woman can kill people and a man can kill people. Like, anyone can kill you. It doesn't matter, like, who you are, like, what gender, what sex. It doesn't matter. You can kill people if you're, like, evil like that. Like,
Well, the point is they want to
yeah,
make
I
the
know,
point
I
that
know. I'm
trans
just,
women are predators.
do we not just realize a woman could kill you too, or just a man could kill you? Like, anybody can do it. But anyway, my issue was too, like, they just kept using gender norms, or like, boys act this way, women act this way, and it was just like, especially when they're like, men use casual sex, and I'm like, first of all,
That's
not
like,
all men.
dude, PragerU is so weird with that because they always portray men as like sex freaks who like literally cannot keep it in their pants for anything.
Exactly.
And then they're like,
Yeah.
oh, men are just like that and we have to let them slide with that. It's like, no, we don't.
No.
Men can
And
behave.
it's like women can have casual sex and that's fine, as men can have it too, but it's not like in their genetic makeup to be like that. It's your personal preference.
Well, it is biologically true that people with a higher testosterone tend to have like a higher sex drive.
But it doesn't mean you're going to
No.
have casual sex.
No.
It's your choice.
The other thing is like they say that about women, they point that out about women, but they don't call it out for men. You see the little patriarchal thing there?
Yes.
It's okay for men to have casual sex, but if a woman does it, she's a whore.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And then like,
go ahead.
Sorry, you can go.
No, you go.
Like they're basically like, yeah, they just really completely took gender and sex as the same thing. So, oh, the girls are all going to start doing man things, and all the boys are going to do girl things. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, that's on you for making these strict rules that women have to be this way, men have to be this way, because the only people who made those rules were society, and they're not like facts or true. Like, you can be whoever you want to be, and so like you can play with whatever you want to play with. You can be whoever you want to be. So like, I think that's where they would just keep going on. Like, they don't understand the difference between gender and sex. Completely different things. And the biggest thing is society's like fucked up in telling you who you have to be, and you have to be this way if you're a woman, you have to be this way if you're a man, and if you change it up, then you're this weird, crazy person. You're being all weird and you don't know what you're doing, and it's just like, no, shut up. Be gone. Okay. You can go.
they're like also talking like, I mean, they're specifically targeting like this trans exclusionary narrative of feminism, which I find particularly interesting because like I guess that's how they're trying to get people either from the center or from the left, which in this country is the center, over to their side, is to specifically like frame it as women's empowerment somehow. But they ignore the fact that like by working within the current gender constructs where there is a patriarchy, like any form of women's empowerment that is trans exclusionary really isn't women's empowerment. It's really just further like substantializing the current gender constructs that exist. Like real gender liberation means, liberation from gender constructs as a whole.
Yes, it's interesting that you pointed it out too, because what I notice is with PragerU and I guess conservatives in general is they try to kind of warp what feminism is. So they want to keep the patriarchy, but kind of paint it in a light that like, oh no, you're just being a woman, you're being a true woman, and that's feminism. Submitting to a man, staying in the kitchen, staying at home and taking care of the kids. Yeah, that's a woman's job, right? And the liberals are trying to take your feminism away from you if you don't do what you're supposed to, if you don't serve a man like that. or like stay within the womanly
Yeah,
roles.
I've seen that.
So I don't know. That's something that's interesting to me because, and I don't know. I think they're trying to kind of take, I guess, progressive ideas and warp it so that they can still seem progressive, but kind of still undermine the point of everything. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
Yeah. And I want to talk about the fighting thing because I've done a tiny bit of martial arts before I got really sick, and I couldn't fight anymore. But I don't like this, like, oh, she's a woman, she can't fight a man, she's too weak, and blah 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 blah. And I'm telling you, y'all, like, I was fighting men. We were taught how to fight men. We were taught how to fight opponents much bigger than us. And the style I was learning, which was Krav Maga, it's what the Israeli military uses. So it was an actual like aggressive fighting style. And so it's like, oh, they're trying to make women sound weak and like, oh, you can't protect yourself, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, you can. I was learning how to fight people. I was learning all kinds of fun stuff. So it was a horrible act. It was a horrible thing. Like I'm upset. Like, you know, I'm upset she got hurt and all that stuff. But like, it can happen to anybody. It can happen if a man was fighting a man, a woman fighting a woman. Like,
well,
women
listen,
can fight men. It is possible.
I've been an athlete consistently, not anymore because I go to freaking art school. But in sports, biology does matter.
It does.
It does matter, because testosterone does give you an edge. That's the point of men and women's sports. Because let's say, for example, just you take me and a guy who has like is perfectly healthy as I am, right? And we kind of have the same, I guess, I don't know how to explain it, but health. If we work out and do the same exercises and work out the same way, for a period of time, he's still going to perform better than I am. Because you have things like bone density, muscle mass, things that just testosterone gives you more of. I don't know. I don't know how that would work out exactly in sports with still being inclusive, but
that is hard to figure out.
It is. The lines get blurry in sports because it's like the lines get blurry with sports because it's more like based on what you were born with.
Well, yeah, because there was a whole controversy because there was these two trans girls in a high school that were doing track and field, and they had not. They started running on the girls' team for track and field without taking any hormone therapy or anything like that. So physically, like biologically, they were still males, right? So they still have that testosterone, and they were basically in first place all the time. Like no girls who could hold a candle to them, or biological women anyway.
I think PragerU actually made a video on that.
That's the thing, though. But
I'm sure they did.
Conservatives take like one example and then just run with it.
Yeah,
that's the problem. They don't want to actually have a discussion on this. Like for sport, like you can still like acknowledge biology and respect someone and treat them as the gender they choose to be. It's not hard.
Exactly.
I feel like with the video we watched, it was like trying to make it like a bigger issue. It was like not just focus on the sport aspect of being transgender. It was like trying to like give a reason why it shouldn't be as like allowed, like you going into another bathroom and stuff.
They cherry pick the facts because okay, yeah, fine. Trans women competing in sports, one woman broke another woman's skull. That's horrible. You know, talking about biology in sports can be a civil discussion that does need to happen because it gets a little funky when we're taking transgender and cisgender people into account. But you could also mention how many trans women of color get killed on the daily for just being who they are in sex work. You know, I don't know if you guys have watched Pose, but in that show, I don't know, Matthew kind of just nodded. I wonder if like you watched it.
Yeah.
It shows
chat that he loves it.
Yeah, Pose is really good. there's a trans woman of color who gets killed, and it kind of shows you that that's the norm for the lifestyle of a trans woman of color, because you know, they get kicked out of the home, they get mistreated by society, and sex work is the only thing they can turn to, and sex work is really dangerous, you know.
Especially in that time. I mean, in the 80s, oh my God,
Even it's
imagine what
still
they did
now.
to you back in the 80s. I mean, today, it's bad. Pain is pain. And,
Well, trans women who like it's, you know, I don't know if you guys know what passing or not passing means, but passing means if you pass as a cisgender person. If you like, for example, Blair White, she passes as a cisgender woman, right? And because of that, people, like, I don't know why, but some trans people who pass just like forget where they came from and just kind of discount and like hate all other trans people because they don't pass, even though it takes a lot of money to pass. Most people don't have that access to that. They only have access to hormones, you know, not all this facial reconstruction and bottom surgery and all that. So that's just something that annoys me.
Are you guys ready to start the next video then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's see what's up next on the list. Okay. Gotta switch over to the other tab first.
Scientists discovered some people have a secret pooping habit that keeps them effortlessly thin, even
That's a great
without
commercial.
bruh.
Imagine there's
Okay.
an organization that claims to stand for
Pooping habit.
Yeah.
one thing, but actually stands for another. Imagine this organization calls itself a healthcare provider, but it's not involved in preserving life, it's involved in ending it. And imagine that you help finance this organization, whether you want to or not. Well, you don't have to imagine. This organization exists, and it has a name with which you are very familiar. It calls itself Planned Parenthood, and the deception begins right there. Planned Parenthood doesn't help people plan for parenthood, it helps people escape it. And that's only the start of its deceptions. Planned Parenthood tells you it's one of the nation's leading women's healthcare providers, but it provides very little healthcare. It tells you it provides adoption referrals, but the only adoption advice it is likely to offer is Google it. Most deceptive of all, Planned Parenthood tells you that abortions are a small part of what it does, but it performs more abortions than anyone else in America. Here are the facts. The folks who run Planned Parenthood boast that they provide life-saving cancer screenings. And they do, just not that many of them, less than 2% of the nation's screenings each year. They talk about providing breast exams. They do, but just not that many of them, again, less than 2% of the nation's total. They talk about providing ultrasounds, but the last thing they want to do is show a pregnant woman an image of her growing child. So they don't. The ultrasound is only for Planned Parenthood's use, to better facilitate patients' abortions. In other words, abortion, not women's health, is Planned Parenthood's reason for being. Every year, it does more than a third of all abortions in America, over 321,000 of them. That's equivalent to every inhabitant of St. Louis or Pittsburgh wiped out every year. That's over 880 abortions every day. An abortion every 98 seconds. And while the number of total abortions in the United States is going down, Planned Parenthood's market share of abortions has increased from 23% in 2006 to 34% in 2016. So when Planned Parenthood says it's devoted to women's reproductive rights, what it means is it's devoted to aborting as many babies as possible. And here's the biggest deception of them all. Planned Parenthood would like you to believe that abortion is only 3% of the total services they provide. 3% doesn't sound like very much, does it? But here's how they get to that 3%. They count every discrete clinical interaction as its own service. What is a discrete clinical interaction? Pretty much anything you do from the moment you walk into one of their clinics. I'll give you an example. Let's say a woman comes into Planned Parenthood for one service, an abortion. Before providing an abortion, Planned Parenthood has to confirm that the woman is pregnant, right? So they administer another service, a pregnancy test. That's 2 services. Then, after the abortion, on your way out the door, they hand you a prescription. That's 3 services. And there are many other services provided during the abortion process that Planned Parenthood claims as discrete clinical interactions. In this way, Planned Parenthood is able to rack up 9.5 million of these so-called services each year. Divide the number of abortions, 321,000, by 9.5 million, and you get 3%. Even the Washington Post, a Planned Parenthood ally, declared this 3% figure very misleading. Rich Lowry of National Review nicely illustrated this phony statistic. It would be like Major League Baseball saying they sell 20 million hot dogs, but only play 2,430 games, so baseball is only 0.012% of what they do. So why does Planned Parenthood engage in all these deceptions? Well, as they say, follow the money. According to federal law, the United States government is not permitted to spend taxpayer money on abortions, but Planned Parenthood receives over $500 million a year in federal funding. Not for abortions, mind you, but for those other discrete clinical interactions. Over the last 10 years, its annual clientele has dropped 23%, almost a quarter. But during this time, its taxpayer funding has skyrocketed from $336 million in 2006 to $543 million in 2016. The reality is, just about everything about Planned Parenthood is a deception. Its purpose, its funding, its very name. That's why Planned Parenthood's biggest enemy isn't conservatives or religious people. Its biggest enemy is truth. I'm Lila Rose, founder and president of Live Action for Prager University. PragerU is...
I hate this so much. Okay.
Oh my god, I'm lost.
So, oh my god, like the fact that they do so many abortions, probably because, you know, it's the easiest place for people who like don't have insurance or their insurance won't cover it to like get one.
Exactly.
What I don't understand is why. Here's the thing: if you don't want to have an abortion and you don't believe in abortions, all you have to do is not get one.
Yeah,
Right?
it's like a religious thing. Like if you don't care, don't worry about it.
Well, they see it as you're like
If you don't
condoning
care,
murder.
just don't do it.
Like if you're not against it, then you
It's
like
just
murder.
a ridiculous argument to me. It's a ridiculous argument to me. If you don't want to do it, then don't do it, but don't impose your opinion upon everyone else who needs this. The other thing is like they act like it's easy for women to get an abortion.
It's not.
It's not. Women know that they're like, you know, that you're preventing a life from happening. It's people aren't just free for all killing babies because they want to. It's hard.
They make it seem like Planned Parenthood is just like do
Let's
an abortion. Let's go.
No,
I can't wait to kill
someone-
babies today.
Yeah.
It's gonna be so bad. Like,
And there was the thing in like I can't remember what state. Of course, it was one of the southern states, but it's basically if you get raped by a family member and you get pregnant with an incest child, you cannot get an abortion still.
What the fuck?
I can't remember which state. I have to like look it up and find it. I don't know if they've repealed it or anything, but you know.
There was like a 12 or 11-year-old who had to have a baby. I don't know. Remember, it was like over the summer, but I just remember seeing it on Twitter, and it was just like, why?
And the other thing, the thing we've heard echoed all over social media, we don't want control over women's bodies. Let women do what they want. Right? It's her body. She's going to facilitate that baby for 9 months. All you did was give the sperm. That's it. No one gives a damn about you. You're not taking care of that child for 9 months.
Exactly.
You're not feeding 2 people. Right? It's a woman's body. Let her do what she wants. That's all I'm
I
saying.
also add like, so you know the right-wing people, they say I remember they made this argument, oh, women having children out of wedlock is causing the crime in today's society, right?
What?
You know, it's like if you really want to help us women to not, you know, give birth to these little menaces to society.
Well, hold on.
You
I
have
do have to
abortion
mention a
restrictions.
statistic, though. I do have to mention a statistic, though. I'm so sorry I don't have the references for these. I know I have them saved somewhere on my phone, but
No,
they're
it's
like
not
lost
right.
in a bunch of memes and crap.
Right,
There,
but I'm just saying like the
there's a
loss of
statistic where they hold on, they introduced clinics to a city for abortion, and over the next 20 years the crime went down by over 50% with the introduction of abortion clinics, and there was a direct correlation to that.
I did like a whole essay on that, like in
I remember
information.
your essay. Do you still have it? You should link it.
I would love to read it.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Hi,
Did someone just join?
Jello. Yeah.
Oh,
Hey. We're just talking about the last video we watched. It was on PragerU's Planned Parenthood video talking about how evil it is.
yeah, pretty gross video.
Yeah.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Justin Roig. I'm pronouns he, him, from Vineland, Cumberland County. Shouldn't be too far from any of y'all then.
Not that far, like maybe 45 minutes or an hour.
Yeah.
That's it? All right.
You guys want me to do introductions again?
Well, yeah, like what do you study? You know? How you doing during quarantine? What else?
Yeah, Ellie, don't like pressure him.
I mean,
Tell
it's
us,
just,
what's
you
your
know.
social security number?
I'd need to be in college for that. Yeah. Yeah, I'm with Matt. Yes, caucus secretary.
Oh, nice.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Well, my name's Irene Innocent. I'm one of the founders of YAC. I go to Stockton University. I'm a sophomore, biology major. I'm also on Student Senate Governmental Affairs. Okay.
I'm Nina. I go to ACCC. My major is fine arts, trying to be an art teacher, but really I want to be an animator, but we won't get into that. I am also one of the founders of ACCC, and thanks for coming.
I go by M. I like to stay anonymous. Not that like evil or anything. I just anxiety. I just like to stay anonymous. So I go by M. I'm not in college currently. I just got out of treatment for severe mental health disorder, and I'm finally doing really, really well. So I'm able to start working and start having a life. So I'm also one of the founders, and I tend to be and head of more like the mental health division. That sounds so fancy, like the mental health area of our stuff. But yeah, welcome.
My name is Matthew Scholar, and I am Justin's best comrade.
I'm about to say, yeah. I'm sorry. Who's this Matthew person with the hat and the beard and the whatnot?
Oh, I'm Allie. I'm studying theater design in Philly. Not now though, because you know, remote learning. Yeah, I guess I'm a founder of YAAC, but I don't know. I don't want to call myself that just because I haven't been participating a lot. But yeah.
Oh, you're still a founder, so
we still love you. Okay, in the chat I just put the essay that I wrote about
that's a good essay.
Dropping the crime rate and maternal death rate by legalizing abortion and making it easier to. Does anyone else have anything to say about that video we watched?
Yeah, I just want to say, so in Galloway, where I live, we get protesters like in front of.
Oh my god! I'm sorry. I've seen those people.
Talking about those church people?
Yes. Oh my fucking god. Sorry. There's these church people that like buy a small, really, really tiny shopping center in our town.
Picture.
It's like 4 people, like old ass people, that they just stand with like pro-life signs and stuff, and it's like no one cares. You're standing in the cold to do this, and
It's like
people
you're
are
not
just trying to
even
do what they're trying to
fertile.
do.
Why do you care who's having kids?
Oh my god!
Like
why are you
dried
here?
up. I'm sorry, but you know, it's like it's none of your business who has an abortion and who doesn't. Okay, make a statistic out of it. you know, but I like honestly, it's none of your business.
But honestly, though, I can see, I know what their thought process is. They're
Right.
It's just a
like, oh
bunch of
my
old
God, they're
farts
killing.
with like
They're
cheap signs standing in
Yeah,
front
a
of a
lot.
well,
fucking
no, I'm talking about
drugstore.
everyone on that side, and like all like the Christians and religious people.
Well, I'm a
I shouldn't
Christian and I
target
don't believe in
Christians,
any
sorry.
of that.
Well, there's
Yeah,
different.
yeah, I know. I'm sorry, I shouldn't target
Right,
Christians.
but there's like, you
No,
know,
it's
there's
fine.
The
other
religious
Emily,
people.
oh my gosh,
yeah.
you can
Um,
say your point.
I was gonna say in Vineland, basically all we get, because people don't really do anything around here, is on Landis Avenue, the not St. Patrick, Sacred Heart, which is like the old Catholic church on Landis Avenue. Is they have a parking lot right next to right across the street, actually on the street that I live on. But anyway, they have a big thing that what if Mary aborted her Jesus, and I'm like,
Oh my fucking God.
I don't, by the Christian logic, everything is supposed to be preordained and pre-planned. Therefore, by their own logic, this is not
Wouldn't be a
possible.
surprise to God. He's just like,
It'll be
wait a minute,
surprised.
that's
Like, wait, that
not
wasn't in my
supposed
plan. That wasn't in my plan. That wasn't on the agenda.
to-" Do you want to say what you were gonna say earlier? Em?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, I can see where they're coming from. Like I understand their thought process is it's like we keep saying, oh, we know some of your business, blah, 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 which it is, it's not their business, but their thing is like they're thinking, I need to save these children, I need to save these babies. They're committing murder. Would you let someone who commits murder just do it whenever they want?
The other thing
That's
is
how they're
The
thinking.
problem is that's how they view, like, I get what you're saying, because they view it as murder. Therefore, if you were in that mentality, if you were to view it as murder, you would probably say something about it as well. It's just
Yeah, if you
Honestly, when I
witness
was younger,
murder,
I would probably think the same thing. Like, why would they kill the baby?
Well, yeah, because we were forced into like racist Christian schools. But the other thing is like they think that you're going 6 months into the pregnancy and aborting the baby. Like they think you're almost done your pregnancy and aborting the baby. It's like,
It's
no,
like
it's
not
right
like
at the
you're
beginning.
trying to be malicious. Like I feel like they think there's like some kind of it's like malicious intent behind
Conniving
it.
plot.
Right. Like
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
think
'cause
anyone
it-
takes
what-
pride in having abortions.
Yeah, but
That's what I said. It's really hard for people to have an abortion. It's
yeah,
not
and
easy.
a lot of women become severely like depressed or have very severe mental health issues afterwards because it's a very traumatic thing to have an abortion. So it's not easy. No, they don't walk in there like, yes, bitch, I'm gonna kill this baby. Like, no, they're not gonna
Yeah,
do that.
no, that's not. I see a lot of people on the right to bring up like occasionally I'll see like a thing online like I got an abortion, it was the best thing ever done. I'm like, well, I'm not gonna tell that person what to believe. I'm like, I literally don't know what to think about it, so I just don't say anything about it. I'm like, it's not for me to talk about. But the people on the right will champion that like that's the majority of people that get an abortion, and I'm
Yeah.
like, no, it's
Yeah, like-
really not. Trust me, Anna.
Yeah, I know there's some people who are like that. Or
Even
like, they
that
don't
person
care.
probably wasn't trying to mean it like I just killed a baby.
No, I
Yeah,
still
but
even
even if there was,
It's like
it's not
4
everyone.
it's like I would say it's even less than 4-1. I'd say it's probably like 1 out of 20, if that.
Probably, probably way less considering how many abortions happen. I feel like it's a very small group of people who are like that.
Yeah, but like, here's my thing. I was gonna say earlier, like, even if like the people you're saying, like the people were like, they weren't fertile, they don't have any business. Even if their ovaries or eggs are in the best shape they've ever been, it's still not their business, is it? Like, it's
conservatives just want to impose their beliefs on like every people's lives who have nothing to do with them.
Yeah.
No.
It's just mind your business, Jesus.
See, like
It
me
ain't hard.
It's like
personally,
it literally doesn't affect anybody. Like honestly, at some point you might not even like know that it happened and it wouldn't change anything about the world.
yeah, we can't take care of the people who are here right now. You know, we have more than enough people and not enough resources. You know, we can't take care of our planet. We can't take care of the people who are here. What are we going to do with more? Where are we going to put them in the ocean? Like, we have no space.
Exactly.
Actually, these people probably would. Let's be honest.
They would. Dude, I don't know if you guys ever seen that Ben Shapiro thing when he was trying to deny climate change. He thought that people on the coasts if the sea level rises, they could sell their
I
homes.
saw that.
Oh my god, I
You
saw
remember
that
that?
one.
And I'm like,
We
do
need
you
to
think
do,
Actually,
this
the
guy
ocean is
smart?
rising
like
even
this, where we go
quicker.
to other YouTube.
Yeah, we're gonna start a whole nother conversation about
You
Oh,
something.
yeah.
I think we should
Sell a
watch
home,
the
I mean,
sell a home in AC or Pleasantville now. What makes you think you're gonna sell?
Wait, guys, should we have a Ben Shapiro one of
Yes, we
these?
should. We
Shapiro
should
Because-
definitely.
I don't
should.
understand how he
Financial
manages to convince people that he's smart because he's really not
It's
smart.
because apparently he
Because he speaks
talks
like this.
fast, hypothetically.
He speaks
Hypothetically.
like this with big $1 million words, and
my
hypothetically,
God,
and
yeah.
if we do this, and
Oh my god, your impression is so
if-
good.
yeah,
Your impression is
No,
so fucking
my
good. Holy
friend,
shit.
she.
I'm pretty good at being a short guy with a nasally voice.
You remember that thing that
Okay,
Ben
but like
Shapiro
he
can't get his
kind of,
foot
he's
wet?
kind of like built.
Wait, no, but do you guys remember that thing where like Ben Shapiro added himself that he can't turn on his wife?
Yeah, no, he can't.
I remember that.
That was literally.
He's like wet pussy. What is that? That's a medical issue?
My wife, who's in the medical
Fucking
field,
cunt.
she says it's actually bad if that. I'm like, God, your wife must hate herself.
Listen, I don't condone bullying, but I would absolutely shove Ben Shapiro in a locker.
Yeah,
I would
no,
bully the hell out of him.
Daughter.
it works for me.
Have you guys seen just real quick? Have you guys seen the videos his daughter posts?
He has. Oh
Have you
yeah, I
guys
forgot.
No, you mean Abby Shapiro? That's his sister. That's his sister.
Sister. No, I was gonna say his daughter's like 4 or 5 or something.
Wait,
Yeah,
there's
she's
this
over
other
here
girl.
on YouTube.
Can you imagine how crap it must be to have Ben Shapiro as your dad?
They look the same.
I found the people on the street.
Oh, you found them?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have like close enough pictures to show their signs though. It was just like a rainy day and I could just see them.
They were out there in the
chilling.
rain. That's
Yeah.
dedication.
Yeah.
Why is it when I think of Galloway, I think of 4 old people protesting against abortion, though? That's no offense, but
No, that's
Honestly,
accurate.
Yeah.
That's accurate.
We see that too.
I
That's
have
accurate.
a cousin who lives in Galloway who's a straight up like
It's so
No,
it's
our
like
military
before like what
brainwashed
happened in like
person.
May or June, I like didn't really know anything about like Galloway politics. So like when I went on to like the
I didn't know we were
forums on
red.
Facebook, yeah, me either. It was like, wow,
like,
all these
county is
people
pretty
like
red.
I
really
was
hate
so
that we're
disappointed in
protesting the
us.
police.
I
Oh
was
yeah,
so
we were called terrorists.
If
Oh.
it weren't for like
There
landing
was
your
this woman
Pleasantville,
who was like,
Yeah.
man, I can't even pronounce your name.
Irene
Wow.
Igby. Done.
It's oh
My
my
friends
God.
just came at her and her page. She like went private. She like blocked me.
It's like
Oh, I remember that whole thing.
Oh my
Okay,
God,
guys,
rose
we need to get back
gold.
on topic.
Okay. But this
Yeah,
is
we're
like
on
this is
topic.
the people, if you can.
Oh
see
jeez.
Yeah,
it.
they're like
Like this is the sign says choose life.
that is so
But it's
Galloway.
A for
4
effort,
old
though.
people
A for effort.
pro-lifing in front of a fucking like shack. That's so
Pro-life.
Galloway.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get to the next video.
Yes.
All right.
Next
We're
cringe
having too
topic.
much
These
fun.
videos are literally 5 minutes long, and we're here at 8:16 still.
Oh
But I
my
haven't like
God.
talked to my friends in so long because
Yeah, I
of the
haven't
lockdown,
video
so-
chatted people in like 20
Yeah.
years.
I know.
Okay, let me just exit out.
Oh my God, her hair really cracked me up. Can I just say that?
Why do conservatives look like that? They look like their hair isn't real.
They look so annoying.
They look so right. They look like someone you would punch.
They look so
I don't know.
fake.
They look too normal.
They look
Yeah,
too
Yeah,
normal.
they're
actually,
like
that's true.
That is true. They look
too
so normal that it's unsettling.
Yeah. Like,
that's exactly it.
they look like they belong in a movie like what is it, Get Out.
There's a certain
They
strain
look
of
like-
bacteria.
Yes,
called-
absolutely.
oh God.
Wait, what?
Oh no, not this commercial.
I've never seen this ad.
Could be
I'm
worse. 'cause
surprised the
this
guy
man
that's
says
like
one.
here.
Oh
The
wait,
most
this one's not
emotional-
the
Oh,
regular
the king
guy.
himself,
It's
Mr. Prager.
him.
Oh God.
Okay.
Let's
get my
talk
name
about
clear.
one of the most emotionally charged subjects there is, abortion,
And I'm sure there's more
But-
emotionally charged.
Oh,
in an unemotional way. Also, let's not touch on the question that most preoccupies discussion of the subject, whether abortion should be legal or illegal. The only question here is the moral one. Is ending the life of a human fetus moral?
Hold on,
Let's
wait, Irene, can you
begin
pause
with this
for a
question.
second? Morale has to do with emotion. Emotion is a part of morale. Just
Hold
saying.
on, wait. Doesn't Ben Shapiro say
Benson?
that facts don't care about your feelings?
Facts don't care about his feelings. That's for sure.
The BBC doesn't care about his feelings. We know
Yep,
that.
I remember that. But okay, just saying real quick. Emotion plays into morale. So
yeah.
He's
The
an
root
idiot.
word of morale and emotion are basically the same. Like,
Yep.
Moral.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, continue.
Does the human fetus have any value and any rights? Now, it's a scientific fact that a human fetus is human life. Those who argue that the human fetus has no rights say that a fetus is not a person. But even if you believe that, it doesn't mean the fetus has no intrinsic value or no rights. There are many living beings that are not persons that have both value and rights. Dogs and other animals, for example. And that's moral argument number one. A living being doesn't have to be a person in order to have intrinsic moral value and rights. When challenged with this argument, people usually change the subject to the rights of the mother, meaning the right of a mother to end her fetus's life under any circumstance, for any reason, and at any time in her pregnancy. Is that moral? It is only if we believe that the human fetus has no intrinsic worth. But in most cases, nearly everyone believes that the human fetus has essentially infinite worth and an almost absolute right to live. When? When a pregnant woman wants to give birth. Then society and its laws regard the fetus as so valuable that if someone were to kill that fetus, that person could be prosecuted for homicide. Only if a pregnant woman doesn't want to give birth do many people regard the fetus as worthless. Now, does that make sense? It doesn't seem to. Either a human fetus has worth or it doesn't. And this is moral argument number two. On what moral grounds does the mother alone decide a fetus's worth? We certainly don't do that with regard to a newborn child. It is society, not the mother or the father, that determines whether a newborn child has worth and a right to live. So the question is, why should that be different before the human being is born? Why does one person, a mother, get to determine whether that being has any right to live? People respond by saying that a woman has the right to control her body. Now, that is entirely correct. The problem here, however, is that the fetus is not her body. It is in her body. It is a separate body. And that's moral argument number three. No one ever asks a pregnant woman, "How's your body?" when asking about the fetus. People ask, "How's the baby?" Moral argument number four. Virtually everyone agrees that the moment the baby comes out of the womb, killing the baby is murder. But deliberately killing it a few months before birth is considered no more morally problematic than extracting a tooth. How does that make sense? And finally, moral argument number five. Aren't there instances in which just about everyone, even among those who are pro-choice, would acknowledge that an abortion might not be moral? For example, would it be moral to abort a female fetus solely because the mother prefers boys to girls, as has happened millions of times in China and elsewhere? And one more example. Let's say science develops a method of determining whether a child in the womb is gay or straight. Would it be moral to kill a gay fetus because the mother didn't want a gay child? People may offer practical reasons not to criminalize all abortions. People may differ about when personhood begins and about the morality of abortion after rape or incest. But with regard to the vast majority of abortions, those of healthy women aborting a healthy fetus, let's be clear. Most of these abortions just aren't moral. Good societies can survive people doing immoral things. But a good society cannot survive if it calls immoral things moral. I'm Dennis Prager.
Okay, I just got two things to say about this before, like.
Also, wait, Matt made a good point because that is what annoyed me so much. He's like, "Oh, what if they determine this? Blah 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 blah." It's like, abortion is consensual. In China, they were killing babies non-consensually, right? That was the government doing that. That was not the people.
Thank you. First off, I feel like the same person who cares if their kid is gay or not is the same one who doesn't want an abortion.
Who doesn't want an abortion?
Yeah, like that
And the other
wouldn't
thing
even
is they're like,
matter.
it's such a stupid. It's such a like the what about logic is such a shitty thing to bring up too, because it's like, oh, what if they determine that the baby's gay? It's like they're not going to be able to determine that. Why would you even bring that up? That's irrelevant.
And even if they could, they
But
would still have a
that's
right to
irrelevant.
abort the
That's
baby.
still irrelevant when you're trying to make a point. You don't bring whataboutism into it.
Ow.
What were the
Oh,
other
yeah.
points that he made? Because they were all dumb.
I had one about like it was like this moral experiment they had to like try and like convince people that like abortions are fine. It's like if you get like kidnapped or whatever and put in this room with somebody who's like poisoned, and you either have the option to get hooked up to them for like 9 months, you like run your blood through their blood to make both of your blood good.
Mm-hmm.
You can either do that or you can just walk away and let them die, because if you get hooked up to them, you could you'll either both be fine after 9 months, or you might both die, or you might die. And it's like, which one would you choose? It's like you could
So that has
see
to-
how somebody would choose to not be in that situation because they don't want to live 9 months
Right.
up to this person.
The other point I thought that was really stupid that he made up was like, oh, well, what's it called? People treat the baby like trash when they want to abort it, but when someone wants to have it, they like help it grow. And I'm like, that's what you're supposed to do. If you want a baby, why are you just gonna neglect it? Right? You're not gonna treat a baby that you want to have as an aborted child. If you it, I just don't get the thought process here. I don't get it. They're like, hoo checkmate liberals. Oh my god.
At the end, he says, a society can survive doing immoral things, but it can't survive calling immoral things moral. Well, then you don't personally need to call it moral. Like,
yep.
I may disagree. I'm not going to tell you how to think. What you don't need to do is, one, go around trying to block people from getting to a Planned Parenthood. Because if we're talking about personal liberties and personal rights, you're restricting one person's right to have an abortion. Even the most disgusting of individuals, Ayn Rand, agrees with me on this. The other thing is that, again, all you need to do then is not call it moral. You don't need to call it moral, but it's not, even if it's not moral, does morality equal legality? Half the time, no. So even if you don't like it, it doesn't mean you have to do it. No one's putting a gun to your head.
The other thing I was thinking about is they literally tried to use language to they used like the way we speak, colloquial language, to make a point. They said, oh, because a person asks who the asked the woman how's the baby, that means that a baby is a separate entity. And I'm like, so you're the people who use facts and all the logic and all the biology, but you use language to determine that the baby is separate from the mother, not science. Because the mother has an umbilical cord, which she feeds the baby for 9 months, right? And the other thing is their health, a baby and a woman's health are connected for that period of time. It's the woman is doing all the work to help that baby grow. You know what I mean? It's just, I'm sorry, I just like, I can't, the fact that people believe this, like that has 2 million views of people who believe that, it's really mind-boggling to me, because all it just takes is a little bit of thinking to understand that it's not true, or that the logic doesn't work.
The biggest
Sorry.
thing is he's like, we're not using emotion and use emotion the whole entire time. That was his whole point, was using emotion.
Most of the time it's facts, but when it comes to this, it's all emotion.
Emotion.
Well, that's what I'm
And I
saying
love how
about.
they use biology here and they can't use biology and like,
I
or
mean,
like, they can't figure out the
conservatives-
biology between sex and gender.
Conservatives are all about warping definitions and cherry picking facts, basically.
They're about
feel
the
like-
facts until it contradicts them.
Yeah.
Yes.
More so, I feel like when we think about things, we kind of see the points they have and kind of find ways to justify our point based on what they give us.
Right, like, cause I can see, at one point in my life, I was like not pro-abortion. I was pro-life, but
Yeah,
that's
me too.
high school. And I'm thinking, and I remember I was discussing it, but I'm like, I see, I get that the fetus, it's a little tiny cell. And then my friend was like, exactly, that's what people are trying to say. It's a tiny cell, and it's not, there's no heartbeat, it's not alive, it's still developing. And
Did you notice the wording that they use too?
They
Yeah,
use very
like,
specific
Is it
wording.
moral? Is it moral to kill a
know,
life, or basically
know,
take a life? That's what they
exactly.
said.
Yeah, using trigger words. So, and when we think of kill, we're like, oh, that's negative, that's immoral, killing is immoral. So you see how they use the language on these videos. And so, like, again, it's just, people have to, when you live in a free country, it's free. You know what I mean? Like, these people have this mindset of, oh, you can't do that.
Conservatives are so weird and contradictory.
Yeah, exactly. They contradict themselves. You can't do that, but I can do this.
Yeah, they're all about freedom, but you can't do all this stuff.
And it makes me think, like, how much freedom should we really be having in this country?
The other thing is when in the if they want to if they're constitutionalists, they it was written that when somebody is born, they have certain rights. They have certain natural rights, right? So when someone is born, okay, an abortion is not a baby being born. It's a cluster of cells being removed. And
yeah,
I
I
know
see
it's
how
a very
that wording is
clinical way.
completely different.
I know that's a very clinical way to look at it, but that's just factually how it is.
I remember when Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana had issued in their abortion bans, and there was this one girl that I knew. There was a couple of, some of them were just conservatives, some of them were damn near skinheads, some of them were just straight. One of them was a straight up white supremacist, and then one of them was like their cool black girlfriend that was also conservative, that would say that they're not racist. And
Oh
she
my
was
God.
I don't know if you guys know Kansas Owens, but
yeah, that girl she used to believe me. She slapped me in the face.
you
like,
know,
she
Ken.
rock
Oh my
bottom.
gosh! Wow.
But yeah, so that made lunch fun for a year. But anyway, so they were just talking. They were like, "Oh, did you hear about Alabama?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, it's terrible. Like they're making an 8-year-old, or no, it was 12-year-old trying to have or it was not, I forget the age, a prepubescent child try to have a freaking baby, and they didn't even factor that in. And I said, like, even I'm like, it's not. They were trying to say, oh, they're saving lives. I'm like, it's not a life. It's quite literally, like, if we want to speak on a scientific level, it is not considered a life. Like in the video, he said it. We all agree that it's a human life. No, actually, by the fact that you said that, and I disagree. No, we're not in agreement. Even science, for the most part, is in agreement that it isn't. But even then, there's still contention. So even if you are pro-life, you cannot make the argument that everyone agrees that. That's straight up fallacy.
I do also want to point out in the other video too, when they were talking about Planned Parenthood, they never talked about birth control. The other thing about birth control is that some people don't take birth control just to prevent pregnancies. They take it because they need it for their health. For me, I have a little bit of a hormone
Yes.
problem, so I have to take birth control for that. I don't take it to prevent pregnancies. I take it to help balance out my hormones.
Exactly. I have a friend. She has a microchip, and it releases whatever chemicals because her period cramps were so extreme and painful, and she bled a lot. She has to take birth control for it to be controlled, so she doesn't get her period at all. A lot of people take these pills or this type of medication not because they just don't want to have a baby and free sex, and not have to worry about that. There's more reasons to that. It's not what these
There's a lot of medical reasons.
Yeah, exactly.
That the thing is, conservatives don't understand nuance, and they just like to perceive everything as black and white.
Exactly, and that's just
Yeah.
not how the
Yeah.
world works.
It's easier for them to view the world through the just world fallacy, which unfortunately is not true. The world is not just, no matter how you look at it. But it's easier for them, I think, just out of human beings are vulnerable. We're all vulnerable, and that's how they culminate their vulnerability by ignoring it, by trying to believe the world is a just and fair place. Whether that's just religion or how they view it in general, whatever influences that, that's how they're able to basically justify their viewpoint, and also by merely denying the fact that the world is intrinsically unfair. And the other thing is that a little unrelated, well, still related. They don't want access to birth control, whether they say it directly or not. There are many that don't directly say that, but do that via their actions. And there are many that are just straight up against birth control because they literally think birth control is murder. Well, sorry for the former demographic. If you don't want abortions to happen, you should be pro as much birth control as there possibly can be in terms of access.
Well, yeah. I don't know if you remember the AIDS pandemic, but basically a bunch of Catholics and Christians were saying,
All the right people.
even if you want to have sex, you shouldn't use condoms, so just don't have sex at all. I mean, during the AIDS pandemic, I would have been abstinent because, AIDS is scary. But the thing is, people are still gonna have sex no matter what. Just like people are gonna aren't gonna wear masks and gather together no matter what. So you do what you can to help them. So you give condoms, which do help prevent the spread of HIV/AIDS. But they were against that because they think all sex should be unprotected.
I think they also just believe, like I said, there were people that they actually even put this in what is it, Golden Girls, whatever. Like someone said it was killing all the right people. That was a legitimate view that was held at the time. Well, legitimate, no, but it was a view widely held by a lot of people at the time.
Yeah, they were super against condoms.
Wow. That's really sad.
But I think they forget a woman and a man can spread AIDS or
I
HIV.
think the thing they have
say-
is that you should only have it when you plan to have a kid.
The other thing is they only, what is it? They only cared about AIDS once it started spreading to white, cisgender, heterosexual people.
Exactly.
That's what my mom
When
said
it was-
all the
when
time.
No, that's literally what it was. Reagan didn't do anything about it until it started spreading to white cis hets because, it was okay that all the black and brown trans and gay people were dying.
It's just like the crack cocaine epidemic. It wasn't a problem until Wall Street stockbrokers started dying from overdoses.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a problem until all those Hollywood buddies were dying from the overdoses.
Mm-hmm. Also, cigarette companies have been shown to be racist. They try to sell most of their products to black and brown communities.
I saw a John Oliver video where he talked about them targeting lower income areas.
Yeah, same thing with fast food.
Advertising in
they
even
know-
African countries too, and other places of the world.
Well, because here's the thing: the communities of those people, they're most prone to having people who have mental health problems, and a lot of people who have mental health problems, there's a strong correlation between mental health issues and drug use.
Very,
Right?
very, 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 yes.
Definitely.
So there's another interesting article I read, which I cannot find, but that it was how a city introduced basically for drug related crimes. If you caught someone using a drug, you weren't supposed to arrest them. You had to suggest them to mental health
It's probably Portugal,
facilities.
because that's the Portuguese stance on drugs. All drugs are criminalized.
Yes, and the sorry, the amount of people who use drugs dropped by over 70% in 15 years. Just by doing that.
I feel like they all
So I
know
think
that
it's
they just don't
interesting.
want to do it for some reason.
We'll see.
Oh, I know. Because conservatives are like, oh, it costs money. We
But
don't want
can
to
I
take money away from the military.
can I talk on the mental health aspect? Because like I've been through therapy, I've been through all of it. A lot of people, especially in minority and poorer areas, cannot access mental health help. Hell, my disorder, I have OCD. I have been out of treatment for 3 or 4 weeks and I still cannot find a therapist that can treat OCD. It's extremely hard to find a therapist or a mental health provider or treatment because they won't take your insurance. They don't specialize in your disorder. You can't afford it. You can't find somebody close enough to you. And then what are they going to do? They're suffering so much. They have to find some sort of relief if they don't, kill themselves. And that's where a lot of drugs and alcohol and violence comes from, is untreated mental health issues. And that's a huge.
That's because in America it costs $1,000 to get an EpiPen.
I'm gonna say,
Yeah,
therapy,
it's ridiculous.
It's like 8
because
cents.
mental health isn't
It's like-
treated as a disease.
It takes literally like 8 cents to make an EpiPen, and they charge you like $1,000, like $100 for one.
Can I comment on that?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
my
sure.
father works for Gersheimer, and Gersheimer is a company that produces, glass products for the medical field. For
Right.
example, we were producing parts for testing kits, even though Cumberland County was the last part in New Jersey to get testing kits. But that's neither here nor there. I remember a few years ago, it was probably 2018, 2019, they started making cartridges for EpiPens. And my dad told me it costs they're like extremely cheap to me. Like you said, it's about 8 cents to produce one. And they're sold for, from $600,000, $800,000. And I just remember because I have a very close friend of mine. And I remember one time we were probably in 7th grade. Is when I first met her. She's allergic to bees, and she couldn't go outside without her EpiPen. And she lost it, and we spent like hours, at least I tried helping her, and then I had to leave. But like they ended up being there for like an hour or two looking for the damn EpiPen because she comes from a poor working class family. She does not have the money to get another EpiPen, and she needs that to survive. This isn't like
It's like Bernie Sanders said, pharmaceuticals are crooks.
Pharmaceuticals need to get 1919 levels of busted, like monopoly busting. We also need to abolish patents on.
There's something extremely disgusting to me about very wealthy people profiting off of poor people who need help to live.
Yeah.
Just to fucking live. It's ridiculous to me that in a first world country, in a country that like that we're in, that's known for being rich, we don't have these things for people.
That's because
that's ridiculous to me.
A good friend of mine, he describes America on his radio show like this: the United States is a third world country
with a Gucci
wearing
belt.
a Gucci belt.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that was trending. That somebody posted that on Twitter or something, and it was like.
Yeah, I remember that was trending.
Yeah. Yeah, but and I try to avoid using third world, first world countries, but just speaking out of common language, that is essentially what America is, because we have third world poverty in, let's say.
Yep.
I mean, actually, I can think just like where my
people
mom
in West Virginia literally live in like fucking metal scrap shacks.
You can go there. You can go to fucking Port Norris and Haleyville, where my mom used to teach, and see how people are living. It's literally like, you ever seen a shotgun house?
Yeah.
That's
seen a shotgun
the
house.
same shit. It's literally shotgun houses.
And then actually, what's interesting about shotgun houses? So those started in the South.
Yeah.
White people are actually gentrifying that now.
Oh yeah.
So they like the aesthetic of shotgun houses, so they're like
Oh
flipping
my
them
God.
and selling them to white people.
It's like a ghetto bungalow. Oh, how cool! And some Silicon Valley, they're getting tiny little houses and becoming little farmers and shit with chickens. Like, bitch, Puerto Ricans have been doing that for centuries, no matter where.
That is fine. I'm Puerto Rican. I know. I've been to the island many times.
You wake up to the freaking guy who like.
Oh my God, dude! Like legit. Even in like regular towns, roosters wake you up in Puerto Rico.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, when I was there, I've only been once in the summer. There was chickens in the freaking graveyard. And I'm like, this is beautiful.
Yeah,
In Puerto Rican too.
Pecking at the grave of Pedro Albizu Campos. I'm like, okay, these chickens got no respect.
Well, yeah, there was like in my grandparents' neighborhood. Well, in my dad's side anyway.
Where are they from?
They're from Caguas.
Oh, cool.
So they kind of live in like this little mountain. I don't remember the name of their street, but it's like for where poor people live. There's literally like little tiny pigs running around the area. They're so cute.
That is so adorable.
My great grandparents raised actually. So I found a picture recently from my I call him my uncle, but he's really my cousin in New York. He posted a thing of like my grandparents, my grandmother and her siblings with their father, and they were cooking like this really skinny pig. And it was like, only 2 times they had pig.
That's pernil. You had pernil before?
Well, guys, remember, we have more videos to go through.
I know, but I think everyone's peeing now or something. Oh, I thought you were gone. I was like, oh, she must have turned out to go to pee. That's what
I just didn't have anything to say, so I took my camera
We were
off.
having a very Puerto Rican connection.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt your Puerto Rican connection.
I just thought I just thought she went to pee, and I was like, well, we might as well talk about that while she's gone.
Okay. I just want to go back on the subject with medication. My mom, she, she's not the richest, but she lives by herself. She's not my biological mom. She's my other mom. But she has asthma, and she's like literally on a machine. Like she has to, like, in order for her to breathe and move around, like she can barely move around. And like I remember she came over to our house to visit, and like she didn't even have like the money to get her asthma medication, and it just shows like how our country like doesn't, like, it's so expensive. But in like my asthma doctor clearly told me in other countries their medicine costs $12. Like they can get their meds. Like I think my mom's teacher from like last semester said he used to live in Mexico, and his ex-boyfriend was like a pharmacist, so he got like meds for $12, and he's like living off the meds he got off from Mexico. And it's so crazy here, like asthma medication can be up to like $200-$600, and it's just really sad and crazy because
a
lot of people with disabilities and mental disabilities and physical, like all that kind of stuff, it just really discombobulates me.
I can rant on the mental health issue for ages because I have a mental health disability,
Yeah.
So, I was gonna say, like I go to therapy, and it's like I heard my mom on the phone. It's been for about a year, like on like each one probably costs her about, like, every 1 or 2 costs her about $100. And I'm like, over the course of a year, I have like one every 3 weeks, and that, like, they're sparse out. I wish I could have
every week.
I like, or 2 weeks actually. I wish I could have them more, but I'm like, they're often like quite sparsed out, and I'm like, but it's also like, it's a lot of money.
It's a lot. See, I didn't even get regular therapy, or I did, but like I was in a treatment program, and it was in the pandemic, so it was remote, and it was $250 a week, and I was in there for 8 weeks, and I got through really quickly. So it's like between 8 to 12 weeks, I think, and so I did really, really well. So I got out quick, and I went through really fast. But at first my parents were kind of like, my mom was like, this is gonna be really expensive. But my
Wait.
dad was like, she needs it. She has to do this, or she's like, gonna live in a
Wait,
group home for the rest of her
talking-
life. So
Wait, can I talk about disabilities for a second? Because that was one thing that I thought of. My AP history teacher literally believes in social Darwinism.
Oh God, no.
He believes in social Darwinism, and he tried to teach it to us and make us think it was legit. Maria and Nina, if you don't know what social Darwinism is,
I know what it is.
Okay, good.
People like maybe we can explain it for like the people who might watch on YouTube. They might, they might not. know.
Basically, Hitler believed in social Darwinism. Just saying.
Oh wait, survival of the fittest, like
If
cull
you-
the
if you had-
population.
No, because in Hitler's empire, what he wanted to have done was if the doctor determined that you had any sort of disability or chronic health issue, they would give you a shot that would kill you because you're not worth
I'm
living.
dead. I'd be
Yeah.
gone real quick.
Yeah,
That's social Darwinism.
He
people
actually
just say.
killed members of his own family that lived in Austria. They were euthanized in the Holocaust.
And by the way,
you're in
Hitler also had Parkinson's.
Yep.
Wow.
He had Parkinson's. If you look at old films of Hitler, you see he always has his left hand behind his back. He never brings it out. Parkinson's is when you like shit, by the way.
Right. Wow.
But no, yeah, people don't realize in the Holocaust, people with severe disabilities were, sent too. It wasn't just the Jews, it was also people with disabilities. I think, what was Roma? Is that? I forget what they're called.
Roma and Sinti.
Yeah. It was more than just Jews. I mean, obviously it was mostly Jews, but
Yeah. Well, there's a fight. You got to remember, the Holocaust didn't kill 6 million people; it killed 11 million people.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like people with any sort of mental health issue, I'd be gone. That's for sure.
Whoever else was in the way.
Everyone in this call would be gone.
Yeah.
Pretty much,
Yeah. Oh dear. But yeah. I want to do something for like a mental health video like this because I can talk for ages because I went through it. I went through it
We
all.
can maybe watch the thing I think Jubilee did where they have like not school shooters. Oh my gosh, people who survive school shootings and like NRA activists. Yeah,
cool.
Wait,
that's a fun time. I just like watched somebody commenting on it today.
I do want to watch the Make Men Masculine again because that was a controversial thing because of Harry Styles.
Hey,
Like what?
I'm Ember, and
okay.
I've
Shut up,
got to
Ember.
confess something.
Oh Jesus.
Why do I keep getting these?
Rape, murder, war. They all have one thing in common. Men. Aggression, violence, ambition unchecked by conscience, all the stuff of toxic masculinity, right? And the solution is obvious. Make men less toxic. Make men less masculine. Make men more like women. But I'm here to tell you that that way of thinking is not only wrong, it's dangerous. Here's why. When you try to make men more like women, you don't get less toxic masculinity. You get more. Why? Because bad men don't become good when they stop being men. They become good when they stop being bad. Aggression, violence, and unbridled ambition can't be eliminated from the male psyche. They can only be harnessed. And when they are harnessed, they are tools for good, not for harm. The same masculine traits that bring destruction also defeat tyranny. The traits that foster greed also build economies. The traits that drive men to take foolish risks also drive men to take heroic risks. The answer to toxic masculinity isn't less masculinity. It's better masculinity. And we know what that looks like. It's a young man opening the door for a girl on their first date. It's a father working long hours to provide for his family. It's a soldier risking his life to defend his country. The growing problem in today's society isn't that men are too masculine. It's that they're not masculine enough. When men embrace their masculinity in a way that is healthy and productive, they are leaders, warriors, and heroes. When they deny their masculinity, they run away from responsibilities, leaving destruction and despair in their wake.
The consequences can be seen everywhere. 1 in 4 fathers now lives apart from his children. And children who grew up without a dad are generally more depressed than their peers who have a mother and a father. They are at far greater risk for incarceration, teen pregnancy, and poverty. 71% of high school dropouts are fatherless. Of all the rocks upon which we build our lives, family is the most important. And we are called to recognize and honor how critical every father is to that foundation. That was said by then Senator Barack Obama in 2008. If we are honest with ourselves, he went on, we'll admit that too many fathers are missing from too many lives and too many homes. As much as we try to deny the need for real masculine strength in society, there's no denying its necessity. Healthy families and strong communities depend on the leadership and bravery of good men. Yet, the current trend is to feminize young men in the hopes of achieving some utopian notion of equality and peace. And it starts at the earliest ages. In the school classroom, boys are invariably the problem. On the playground, aggressive games like dodgeball have long been banished. We tell young men that their intrinsic desire to compete is wrong. Everybody gets a trophy. Don't run up the score. This anti-male tilt continues on through higher education and into the workplace. It has created millions of tentative men, unhappy women, and confused boys and girls. Here's a secret that every woman knows. Women want real men. Men they can count on and, yes, look up to. No amount of feminist theory will change that. I don't know any woman at any age who is attracted to a passive man who looks to her to be his provider, protector, and leader. Every woman I know wants a strong, responsible man. That's not a consequence of a social construct or cultural pressure. It's innate. The devaluation of masculinity won't end well because feminine, passive men don't stop evil. Passive men don't defend, protect, or provide. Passive men don't lead. Passive men don't do the things we have always needed men to do for society to thrive. In his book, The Abolition of Man, English social philosopher C.S. Lewis writes about this problem. He describes the tension between cerebral man and visceral man. By his intellect, Lewis explains, man is mere spirit, and by his appetite, mere animal. We need both. Take away one, and you're left with a man who's either weak or wicked. And in a world of wickedness, weak men are nothing more than enablers of wicked men. Rape, murder, war. They all have 2 things in common. Bad men who do the raping, murdering, and warring, and weak men who won't stop them. We need good men who will. It's not masculinity that's toxic. It's the lack of it. I'm Allie Stuckey for Prager University. Thank you for watching this video.
Okay, that was the last
All
one
right.
on the list.
I got news for
my
you guys.
God.
I got news for you guys. If you're ambitious, if you have drive to do anything, that makes you masculine.
You're a man.
If
I'm a
you're
man.
brave, you're masculine.
If you want to rape, pillage, and commit wars, that makes you very masculine.
The other thing is,
But the wrong masculine.
raping and killing makes you a bad man. So every single woman who's raped and killed is a man now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, as a person who's been on the other end of that spectrum, in regards to it, that my case when I was assaulted by a woman, and it was not respected like it would have been the other way around, and it's that because it's hard for people to believe.
That is so sexist. I'm sorry. This whole video was extremely sexist.
I will be the first person to tell you that was still that was still.
The other thing is, it's not like, kids don't need a father specifically.
Yeah.
They need 2 parents.
Right. Can I vouch, because I'm someone who didn't grow up with a dad. I don't know if everyone grew up with a dad here.
I did.
But
we all did. I don't know about Justin because I don't know you, but
yeah, I didn't have a dad growing up. I literally grew up with 2 women. So and I grew up with my grandparents, and plus I heard she was talking about, kids who don't have dads are criminals and they become crooks and incarcerated. Well, look at me. I'm a
single parent.
Exactly. Like my mom, she was a single mom for a good time, like a good, like for most of my childhood.
Can't use anecdotal evidence.
Yeah.
They'll attack you.
They don't use anecdotal because the thing
Well,
is, they say
it
it's
not
like a
having
hard
a
if you're.
man, or
It's
is
not.
it
It's just like the
the
lack
one
of.
parent doesn't have enough
It's
attention because
usually
she or
can't
he
do
has to work all the
everything.
here's the
jobs?
problem, right?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. It's more likely that a person with a single parent will turn out badly. That it's more likely. It's not, it's not black and white like they say, like everybody with single parents is going to be a crooks.
Yeah,
Right. Like
It's not the lack of a dad. It's just the lack of.
It's a lack of a second parent.
Yeah.
and even then, when you look at it, it's really usually you need a second parent if we're looking at it from an economic lens for a second income.
Yes.
Right.
If you not have that, if you don't have a second income, shit ain't going well. Sorry to say. And
Exactly.
I also think that it's not a matter of for me, I think that they're not being a dad. If stop locking up black dads, then thank you very much. Stop making it so that men and that whatever blue collar jobs are left are working or office workers or whatever are working these long ass hours that just to scrape by, that they can't spend time with their kids.
Exactly.
And parents in general, because we're viewing this from a very nuclear family sort of
We're viewing this. Her point of view is a rich, white, privileged.
what she grew up in, what she knows.
Yeah.
Yep.
And a very heterosexual one.
Yes.
I know, and she's like, "Oh my God, women want men," and I'm like, "Did you just you're PragerU, you're homophobic? I forgot."
Yeah, it's like, damn. That woman I like. Woof.
They're like, "Oh, no women are attracted to passive men." I'm like, you haven't met some of the women I met in my lifetime. But
like what?
Literally,
You
the
just
guy.
assume every woman wants
The
the
guy
same
I'm
type of
talking to is passive right now.
yeah, I was like, not everyone wants a freaking Thor.
Yeah,
If everyone
some of
wanted
us
a
want
Thor, I'd
Bruce
be
Banner.
The other thing is they
Some
were
of us
talking
want
about
somebody
dodgeball.
who's smart.
Wait, even though it was a dumb
Some of
point
us
to
want
bring up,
Black
they were
Widow.
talking about dodgeball. Here's my thing. That's like saying, like, for example, what's called in my school, they banned the boys from having gym lockers because they were literally throwing their locks at each other. Hey Nina, your fro looks amazing, by the way. The boys were throwing locks at each other, which is actually harmful because you're throwing heavy pieces of metal at each other, and boys were getting hurt.
Why the
So they
heck
took
were
away
they
the lockers
doing
because they were
It's like,
stupid. And then
boys
the
are
logic
dumb
of this video is
sometimes.
basically saying, the logic of this video was basically like, oh, we should let boys harm each other and throw locks at each other.
The
because
other
that's just,
PragerU
boys
video
will
where
be
they
boys.
basically say that
They're
like they think
exercising
girls are
their
smarter.
masculinity, and it's healthy.
And,
the other thing is like they're treating masculinity like it's an essential like health tool.
Yeah.
It's
Like, the
really
way they-
not. It's really not, because you'd have to say that all the drag queens are like mentally unhealthy or whatever because they are feminine.
I was gonna say it's
And they're all rich too,
Yeah.
just saying. No, I'm just thinking it's just a stupid
It's
argument.
funny to watch a video from the perspective of a male of the species. Hello. Of a conservative,
The male
wealthy
species.
white woman trying to tell, at least in my view, my personal view, a guy what the definer for masculinity is. I'm like, I can't define what masculinity is for other men, so why should you? Why should anyone?
Exactly.
Just like
That's
I shouldn't
another
define.
thing they try to
I
do.
shouldn't. I don't want to exist in this small box.
They're gonna lose their minds when they
I-
realize there's like masculine women, or like masculinity isn't men. It's like a man can
Yeah,
be
like
feminine.
you have
and like,
mask lesbians, and then like you have tomboys.
And
you know,
I feel like some.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes they try to make you think like, oh, you think it's like a spectrum or something, then define what being a man is or being a woman is. It's like there's
whatever you want it to be.
Right. And it really hits home for me when she's like, oh, dads who aren't there, and it makes criminal kids. And it's like, I'm one of those kids who didn't have a dad. I had more than just a dad as a label. I had a support system. I had my moms, I had my grandparents, I had my family. I'm very lucky that I had these people in my life, because maybe I could have been a criminal, or maybe I could have been, not who I am today. I could have been a totally different person. But just because my dad isn't in the picture means I'm gonna become this person. I think it's just whoever is in your life. Like, they say you need a man to help you. The dads that are working, they're never there. Like what are they going to teach you?
They act like you need a man.
Right,
Yeah, their whole thing is like you need a man for everything. You need a man for
Right.
society. You need a man for fight. You need a like, sweetheart. No, the women can too.
Right. And it's like and I can see that because a lot of with like Black fathers, they say, oh, they're the problem. And it's like, well, this is something that's deep. It's deeper than just, oh, they don't want to be there. It's slavery. It's like,
The thing is, they are looking at this from a very, very white perspective.
Exactly.
They need to converse with the Black community on this because they don't understand.
Oh, they'll make sure to put them as a speaker in their next video.
Yeah, they'll find one person who agrees
I'm
with them.
Justin, what did you need to say?
I was going to say, just imagine how many Black fathers there are in prison right now.
Right.
For no reason, for like minor
to be
crimes.
holding their
We have
kids and whatnot.
so many incarcerated people in America. It's ridiculous compared to the
Dude,
rest of the
think
world.
about it. The George Floyd situation, he got killed over a fucking $1.
That man was
that they thought was fake.
$1 because it was fake. Like, who cares? It's
There was
$1.
all the
It was a convenience store.
There was all the pro-family people when when someone's daughter, when someone's father got shot, and there's a daughter out there living in Minneapolis that is not going to have her father for the rest of her life. If you ask me, that's a freaking travesty, and that happens every day. But you don't hear them complaining about that. You don't hear them complaining about
As long as it's the white fathers.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is it extends to disabled people too. Like there was literally, I don't know why it was like never blew up, but there was a white boy who was disabled and he was 11 and he literally got shot by a police officer. An 11-year-old boy.
It's terrible.
Right? That is ridiculous.
Was he autistic?
And the video that I think it was I can't remember what it was, but
Because
it might have been autism. But the other thing is there was a video that went viral out on Reddit. I know Reddit sucks, but they made a good point. There was literally a video of a police cam of this guy who was clearly like he wasn't doing anything wrong. He was extremely mentally distressed, and the cop just took and kept slamming his face against the ground until he bled.
Oh my god!
I can't remember.
He was one step away from curb stomping him.
There was, I forget the name, but I saw a blow up, and I believe it was in Nevada, of the 19-year-old who was going to commit suicide off of.
Oh my god! Yeah, I saw that.
They call because this person's going to kill himself, and what do? They
kill him.
These people that I'm told are of high intellect. Bullshit. First of all,
wait, guys, wait.
It's a crime, anyways.
That was literal murder in broad daylight.
Yeah, wait. I saw someone comment on this. I saw it on Twitter. I told all these guys. So someone commented on that video saying, "Well, in some states, suicide is a crime, which I don't think it is.
Like,
so the police officers were preventing a crime by killing him." And I'm like, what?
By the way, I'm
What
just gonna be honest. I believe in work unions, but I don't think unions should exist in the police force. I really don't, because they abuse it way too much.
Well, police aren't labor. It's not.
They aren't labor. That's the other thing. That's a federal job. Well, no. Okay, my parents work. Wait. Listen, my parents do work a federal job. And they have a union. But at the same time, my mom has said that like the union where she works also abuses like their power.
I was gonna say, like, it depends on what, like, the post office is a federal job, but also clearly
they need a union, especially with what Trump tried to pull.
Because the collar's literally blue, but it's not like a warehouse or manufacturing job, but it's still a working class job. I don't think you can make the argument that at least a majority of police officers, with exceptions here and there, are working class. Most of them, they can start out that way, but by the end of their careers, they're usually middle class, doing at least well enough for themselves.
The other thing
and it's
is,
just
if you get fired for being a cop, you should never, because you can get rehired at a different police station. That
Yeah.
should not be allowed.
dumb.
If you're a doctor,
Especially for a federal job, there should be an overarching rule that's like, if you get fired from the police force, you will not be allowed to be a policeman in any other police force.
Police officers have too much control.
if
They have too
you're a
much
doctor,
control.
you can't, and you mess up with someone's body when you're doing a surgery or an operation, you cannot get rehired. You're done. But if you're a police officer that is not even acquitted, found guilty of doing something wrong, illegal, what have you, you can still get rehired at another police station. Also,
I can talk about it because my brother, he's in the police academy right now. So like for him, like I was saying, like with the pandemic, why are you guys like in the police academy? Because I do, PE and everything. I'm like, why you guys? There's such a shortage of police officers, so they're just like pumping these guys out. And he was telling me, he's in the winter semester or whatever, and it's longer, but the summer one is shorter. And he says they just pump those guys out. Like they can literally go to the next class, and they're taking a test on the class they just did. So they have no idea what they're like. They have no, like they don't retain what they learn. And he was telling me like some, the police stations around where we are will not hire anyone who comes out of the summer class because they just go through so fast they have no idea what they're doing. But obviously they still get hired.
Well, Maria,
At least
part of
Galloway has
that-
standards.
Part of that is that like the average time that police officers get trained is 6 weeks.
No, it's not 6 weeks. 'Cause my brother's
heard
been in
that
longer than
because
6 weeks.
In
But-
Canada,
I thought it was 6
they
months.
train you.
Oh,
in-
honey,
in
no, it's not
Canada-
6 months. No.
They train you less than that. Way
I
less
think
than
like
that,
3 months.
yeah, it's about. I know,
They
It's
don't
3
train you
months.
enough that they need to, because in Canada, for you to enter the police force, you have to train for 8 months.
Yeah, other countries it takes about 3
They
years.
make sure you're basically they make sure you're basically trained like a soldier before you enter the police force.
And back to the thing about like you can get rehired at another station.
Sorry,
How
but
many?
it just pisses me off when I see our policemen have pot bellies. I'm like, really? I'm fucking trusting a diabetic to save my life.
It's the donuts, man. But
Fucking
think
hell.
about how many police officers though, because if you can get fired from one station, let's say you move to another town or somewhere a little further away. How many police officers that have moved to just somewhere else to get hired by another police station aren't even from the community, aren't even from that geographic region? Because I think like in Vineland, like we're known for getting a lot of crap cops that get pushed down here into the boonies.
Well,
so then they
Well, see, my brother, he lives where we live, which I cannot say, but we live more inland, and he works down by the coast. That's when he was a class 1. Now he's in police academy to be a full-fledged police officer. And so he travels an hour or so to get to work. So they travel to get to their station because where he lives on the coastal town he does, it's really expensive. It's like the rich people area. So no police officer lives there. They travel. So yeah, a lot of police officers, sometimes they don't live where they are. They can just travel an hour or so and they can work wherever. And then every single state is different. So every single state, the laws are different for police officers, for training, for hiring, for everything. So whenever I bring stuff up about cost, my brother's like, it's different in every state. And that's what I hear constantly. So when I say like, oh, look what happened here. And he's like, well, that's a different state. You don't know what the rules are, blah, 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 blah. So it's like, there's no consistency between the states. There's no, everything's different. It's like every single state does everything differently. And I think they need to have some overarching, like federal, like every single state has to like train cops for a certain amount of time and do things a certain way. Obviously, every state and every community is a little different, but they have to have some rules that apply for every single police force in the country.
Yeah. In the city of Camden, which is more problematic than people would like to think, and I could go on for a while of why Camden's police department is not perfect like people like to think it is. But at the very least, the one thing they do have is that you have to live in the city of Camden. You cannot live in Haddon Heights or Haddonfield or Collinswood or Cherry Hill and be a police officer in Camden. Now that has changed. Now you have to be from Camden County, I believe, because the county ran thing. But there are, like, and another example is Syracuse, New York. There was an activist there saying that half these people do not live in the city of Syracuse. So their wealth, their taxes are going to other communities. Basically, the city is paying off the wealth of other communities. And most police departments, you do not need to live in the town like you
I
you were
remember
saying.
that. I remember that. There was like a video.
Yeah.
There was
Going to
I
other
don't know if
communities.
What did you say?
I said their taxes are going to other communities.
Yeah.
Therefore, the money that's supposed to go into public money for schools, for
I don't know if you saw that video, but in like I think it was Chicago or something. This dude literally was pointing out. He had all the statistics there, and he was pointing it out. He was pointing it out to the, I guess, the
City Hall.
City Hall. Yeah, that video.
Probably
and he
the
was
same video I was talking about from Syracuse.
Yeah. Sorry, Syracuse. Why did I say Chicago? I don't know my cities, but yeah.
Because their police department's problematic too, on all levels. They all are.
It's all cities. It's all cities.
All cities and small towns, even my towns.
I mean, look at fucking Texas.
Man, what was the video about? I already forget. Oh, men. Men.
All right,
Why men?
I was muted, but I was laughing.
I do have to go at this point because I have an early class tomorrow.
Well, that was the last video we had.
Well, my overarching opinion about that video
I'm a
is...
dip now, though.
Okay.
I love you guys. See you.
Love you,
It was nice
Allie.
meeting you, Justin.
Allie. My ending point of that video was men don't have to be anything besides who they want to be. They don't have to be what that video said. They can be feminine. They can be whoever they want. They can wear dresses. They can wear makeup. They can be in the army. They can be a doctor. They can do whatever they want. They can be a model, work on Broadway. You do whatever you want. You be whoever you want. And for women, you can be a leader. You can be in the army. You can be assertive. You can be powerful and whatever you want. And you can also be feminine. It's not wrong to be feminine. I'm still learning to accept my femininity and be okay and stop acting more masculine because I have a masculine side. We aren't all just masculine or feminine. We can be a mix. We can be a little more feminine than our masculinity, but we're like a yin yang, like a swirl of both, where you can be more masculine or more feminine. You can be more feminine on one day, more masculine on another day. And I'm learning to accept my femininity and express it more, and that it's not something bad. I can still be strong and be feminine. Being feminine is not weak. It is not anything less than being masculine. It's different. But there's nothing wrong with being different because our society says you have basically everything, those things they said that men have to be in that video were like things they deem only men can be, which is not true. But also they only want men to be that because it makes them useful. It makes them, or what they think useful needs to be. They're like, you need to fight our wars, you need to build our shit, and you need to make money. Therefore, you're useful to our country in our warped view. So they want men to be that way so they can be useful and they're use them. Basically they want to use them, but no, you be whoever the hell you want to be. No one decides that but yourself. And I encourage men to look into themselves and embrace their feminine side, because you have one. We all have a feminine side. We all have a masculine side. And we're a mix of both. And but being masculine doesn't mean strong, and being feminine doesn't mean weak. That's not part of it. So yeah, that's my little rant. Just be who you want to be and be strong. And yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
Nice ending.
Oh, that was really good. I need to add that to my book. I'm writing a inspirational book. That would be a really good passage.
Preach. Like, yes. 110% yes. Like, as a male of the species, I could not agree more. And I wish this was a sentiment shared by more women and men. Because if I was gonna say, if that video also showed that there are a lot of women that help uphold toxic or fragile masculinity, whatever you want to refer to it as. And in order to deconstruct patriarchy in that way as well, it's going to need to be deconstructed from all of our minds, because we all have a role, whether we like to admit it or not, or realize it or not, in upholding it.
Yeah.
And if more people in general can start having that mentality around what is defined as masculine or feminine, or how people are defined, and also allow them more agency to define themselves and what masculinity or femininity or what those sides of them mean to them, it would just be for the better.
It would be, because the more you suppress who you truly are, the more, depressed or anxious or angry, or you won't be the real you, and you'll have so many issues mentally and emotionally, because especially with men, this is a scientific where men don't like to be, they're not told to cry. They're not told to have emotion. Scientifically, that is so toxic and unhealthy for your mind and your brain, because crying, as I learned in therapy, is literally the way your body releases toxic chemicals that store in your body due to stress. And if you don't cry or release it, it builds up to very dangerous levels until what we call, like, oh, that person snapped, or they become really aggressive, or become very violent. And that's how we describe men: aggressive, violent, those kind of things, is because they cannot express emotion healthy or at all, and they don't cry, they don't take care of themselves, because that's feminine, that's weak. Well, it's not. It's literally for your health. And like, I will literally, if I start feeling myself get into like a depression episode, I will force myself to cry, and you just feel this release. So that's a huge thing. I think men need as well mental help. Not that like they're mentally ill, but they're taught not to be emotionally and mentally healthy. They're taught to suppress and not be themselves. And especially if they are more feminine than what society says they can be, then they're really damaged mentally. Yeah, it's just, boys, you need to cry.
Yeah,
You
we
need to
should
have
have
emotion.
an event where we just cry.
When you put
Just cry.
Oh my god, that'd be great.
when you put people
I
into
would
these
love
boxes, like when you put people into such small and narrow boxes, basically, and I don't want to sound like an ID poll person or whatever, like, I don't want to go on that, but more when you put labels on people that are small boxes that are define them, that basically are not chosen by themselves, what they're put into. Like you were saying earlier, like, if men are described and are told they're supposed to be violent, aggressive, emotionless, then what do you expect is going to happen? No one is, I would say at least very few people are naturally that way. But if you tell people that that's what they're supposed to be, and that's what society expects of them, that is what they're going to do.
Exactly.
I remember meeting a man by the name of Mr. Lindsay. He was originally from Alabama, and he moved up here, and he was the first black person employed by my high school and my school district. Or no, not the first by the district, but by my high school in the mid 1960s. And they basically dumped him with all the kids that they didn't want to deal with, which at the time was, the kids of color they had in the school, like they first started getting Puerto Ricans in the school, or the kids with, which we would call today learning disabled. And a lot of are just the kids that did not get good grades and were also put in that category. They were all kind of put in the same category. And he told me, if you put these people in the label, this category, and try and keep them there, like to try and tell them that this is what they're supposed to be. They can't be anything other than that. This is how we're going to define them, and they have no choice. Then what do you expect is going to happen? But if you try to put people in that box, unless they're told they can, for the most part,
if they're told that they have to stay in that box, and they're basically being forced in that box, they're going to stay in that box. And that, for the same thing that could be applied there with his case with those students, can be applied to masculinity, in the sense of, if you're telling, like I said, if you're telling men that they have to be violent or aggressive, that is going to be the outcome.
Yeah. Well, also, it's not even their fault. It's more, that's a symptom. Violence and aggression. It's a symptom of very severe emotional and mental, issues.
Yeah, like
that are not being handled or treated.
And it's a cycle, because, who are you told not to cry from if you're a man? Someone older than you, because they were told men don't cry, and someone told the person that told them men don't cry.
Right.
It's a harmful, vicious cycle that repeats itself.
Yeah, it's
all the time
generational
to everyone.
too.
No, I just remember that song, Big Girls Don't Cry.
Oh my god, that was the song.
That everybody cries. Everybody should cry.
Everybody.
And I think a lot of
Right.
women now are trying to be like men, in that sense of they have to not have emotion, they can't
sure.
cry, they have to
Like-
be emotionless. No, the men are who need to stop being that way. We need to keep being ourselves. We need to keep being emotionally healthy. We need to continue showing what is healthy and what human is. We are being normal humans. We're having normal human behavior. And men are told they can't do that. They can't be human.
It's funny how like
So-
we're more accepting of things like that, but we don't really like follow what we preach. Like we're like,
Actively.
oh, we'll be empathetic towards someone, like opening up about something, but we're not going to open up to other people if we're like also feeling that way.
Do as I say, not as I do mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I can definitely relate. Like my family, we used to get in like arguments and it's because of lack of communication and lack of sharing how we feel. And today I still have problems expressing how I feel, and sometimes like I don't want to cry, but when I do cry, it just feels so much more relieving, and
Yeah.
I feel how I'm feeling. So like definitely, for men, women, days in between, like, being in tune with your emotions isn't weakness. It's okay to be in tune with them. We have to, because we'll drive ourselves crazy. Like
Yeah.
I've literally like cried like over homework in high school. Like I would like sob. I'm like, why am I crying?
Because it's stress. It's
Right.
stress built up, and you need to let it
And
out.
I didn't talk about it, so that's why it caused me so much heartache. So definitely, today and going forward, people just need to express themselves more and communicate more about how they
In a
feel.
healthy way.
Exactly, in a healthy way. Because
In a healthy way.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not perfect either. I still have a lot of internalized misogyny. I have a lot of internalized things I'm unlearning. But the thing is as long as being aware is the first step. Being aware you have a problem, being aware that you need to cry, you need to be more in tune with your emotions. That's the start. That's already breaking the chains. The next step is doing it even once or twice, like just start, and don't expect it to be perfect. Don't expect to be like, oh my God, like I have to be like this all the time, or like it looks so scary. Being vulnerable is so scary. So you have to be gentle on yourself. You have to like, I'm not going to be perfect at it. No one's ever going to be perfect at it. You have to start slowly. But what makes someone strong is they keep going. What makes someone strong is being who they are, being vulnerable, no matter what society or outside people tell you. And that strength is always being true to who you are. Don't let outside forces determine who you are, or outside anything determine or change who you are. And what helps me a lot is if you find yourself having an emotion, happy or sad, or well, there's no good or bad emotions. All emotions are just emotions. But whenever you're having emotion and you don't understand why, or you're getting really angry or embarrassed or shame, or just stop and be like, why am I having this emotion? And really dig deep and like look into yourself, because emotions is your body's way of telling you something. It's like an alert. It's like a signal like, hey, something's happening. Pay attention to this. So when you're really angry and you're just exploding, or like you feel so angry, it's your body's way of telling you something. Or when you're really sad, or when you're really happy, they're all just, or anxious in my case, when I get severely anxious, it's just your body's way of telling you something. You don't have to act on those emotions. Just let them guide you and show you what you need to do to take care of yourself. I sound like such a therapist, but yeah. And go to therapy, guys. I highly recommend it.
Let's make therapy more affordable.
Oh my goodness,
Agreed.
yeah.
Ultimate goal is
For real.
If we made mental health a priority, made it not so stigmatized, there would be everything would
It's
be so much
starting.
better. It is
And
starting.
wouldn't
People just openly talk about how they like are going to their therapist now.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's still hard. Like, for me, when I just blatantly say, hey, I have OCD, I have depression, I have Tourette's, I have, almost committed suicide in the past, and being open, that's more people need to do that once they're ready and comfortable, because that's the start, is talking and making it mainstream. And then from there, we have to make it affordable. We have to make it accessible to minorities, poor communities, LGBTQ, make it very accessible, and keep pushing people to go. Keep pushing it as this is something good, this is healthy, and there's nothing wrong with it. So,
right, and it's good to help yourself too,
yeah, and it's
You're-
not useless. It's not just talking. It's not anything like that. It's learning skills and learning tools to how to help yourself and how to deal with your emotions and how to express them in a healthy way. And for people with like depression and anxiety and whatnot, is learning how to deal with it, and how to learn to be comfortable with those emotions happening. Like for me, when I have a panic attack or get really anxious, it's just my body doing body things. It's just anxiety. It's just my body letting me know something. Or in most cases, it's just my body having anxiety because it just feels like it. So therapy, treatment, medication, it's all very important. Yeah, well, it's 9:30. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Like
It's getting
2
late.
hours of recording.
I think we should wrap it up.
Yeah, probably.
This has been great. We should definitely do this more.
You definitely should.
We really should. It was too fun.
Glad Matt told me about this.
Yeah, like you were really awesome to have. I hope we hear from you more.
Definitely. It's nice to actually meet people that aren't 2 to 3 hours away from me.
Yeah.
It's nice not being the only it's nice not having to explain where Cumberland County is.
No, I went there all the time as a kid. I used to do 4-H, so I took my animals there and did shows and 4-H fairs and stuff.
Yeah, I used to do that too. They had like a Lego club thing that I used to be a part of. That 4-H was great.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, someone who knows what 4-H is. Yeah, no, I had rabbits and I would take them out for shows, and well, now I'm with horses now.
Oh, I used to ride horses. Oh my god. There's also my mother's house has a stables across the road. So
Oh well, I've been riding since I was like 10, And now I'm gonna work toward my certification to be a therapeutic riding instructor. So that's my goal.
Very nice.
Yeah. Well, guys, I think I'm gonna try and get something for like mental health figured out, so we can do like some sort of Zoom, so we could post it, because you obviously all know I have a lot to say about it. And I can talk a long time.
Okay.
So
I should probably end this
I
recording
think
then. Thanks for watching, if you're watching on YouTube.